Hi everyone, I'm going to show you how to make an app that will demonstrate some of the basics of App Inventor. And in the end you'll have an app where you click to pet the cat and the cat meows. I'm not sure my system sounds are actually being captured by the video, so I'm not sure you just heard that, but I can assure you when you click the cat it makes a meow sound. And also you can click feed the cat and it switches to a picture of a cat eating. So first I'm going to show you how to get set up with App Inventor. If you don't already have an account, easiest way to get there is to just do a Google search for App Inventor. Type in, or just click MIT App Inventor 2, or just the first link that comes up. Any of those will work, and click Create Apps. Now my account's already set up, so it's going to go straight to the most recent app that I did. You'll have some sort of sign up prompt, and you can just use your school Google account to log in. Once you do that, you'll be able to create a new project, which you will do like this. So just click Projects, Start New Project. This one's going to be called Hello Purr. Notice I put an underscore in between the words. I did not put a space. App Inventor does not allow spaces pretty much anywhere in any of the names of anything. So you can either mash words together and use uppercase to distinguish between the different words, or you can use underscores in place of spaces. I'm just going to give mine a number because I've done this before. It's not going to let me copy the same file name. Alright, so this is the basic, and end my other session. So this is the App Inventor editor. This is the design editor here, where you set up what the design of your screen looks like. And then there's also a blocks editor that we'll get to later, and this is where you put blocks of code. I'm going to stick with the design editor for the beginning. So in the design editor, what you do is you take components from over here and you drag them onto the screen. So there's all kinds of different components, things that you're probably familiar with, like buttons, where you tap the button, check boxes to check yes or no. You can add images, labels for things that are just text, different ways of selecting items like sliders, spinners, and switches, ways to enter text. And there are a few other things that we'll get to along the way, some that we won't, because there's a lot that's available and we only have a short amount of time to do this. So and this whole class is only a single quarter. It's not even a full semester. So this is going to be a kind of crash course in App Inventor. We're not even going to get to some of these capabilities, but we'll definitely be working with layout, just these tools that arrange things on the screen. We'll be using some different types of media, some drawing and animation, and we'll definitely be using some sensors that can sense different kinds of input. So for the most part, we're going to be using a lot of user interface stuff, though, because for the most part, what an app does is just take input from the user and then produce some sort of output. So in this case, what I need to set up is I need to set up a cat picture on a button. So kind of the first problem you run into is you need to have all of your resources, like your media resources. I attached the meow sound, regular picture of a cat, and a picture of a cat eating to the assignment on Google Classroom. So you can download all of these. You may encounter some difficulty downloading these. What I would recommend is, for example, let's just say you download your cat picture. Okay. First issue you might run into is there's actually no download button at first. You can either right-click, save image. I actually recommend this one. Right-click, save image as. And just make sure you save it somewhere other than your downloads folder. the downloads folder does not work on most of the school computers. Put it somewhere else. Put it in pictures or put it in documents. A lot of my I'm at home and not on the school network, so a lot of my folders aren't available, but pictures and documents are good choices. Another way to download, for some reason, like at first this doesn't work, you can also open in a new window and then all of a sudden a download option shows up. Not really sure why that works that way, but that's just how Google Drive works sometimes. So make sure that you do that. Now, if you use the download button, I'll use the download button this time around. Open a new window to get my download button. You download it. Downloads just directly to your downloads folder by default. Unfortunately, one thing you might need to do is open up the Finder. Find in your downloads folder the picture of the cat or the meow MP3 file or whatever it is that you're looking for. And actually open, you might have to open up 2 different windows of your Finder or something like that. What you gotta do is like drag the picture down into your Finder. Because it's not gonna actually, if it's in your, that's right. So hold on. Let me kind of restart that. So you downloaded it. It's right here in this sort of display down at the bottom of your browser. It's like hard for me to even remember this process because it's so unusual, and it's kind of a workaround around the fact that your downloads folder is broken. So you're not going to be able to actually do what I just did and open straight to it. What you'll have to do is open up some other folder, like your pictures or your documents. My pictures don't work, so pretend that I don't know, where else can I look? I think my C drive works. Sure. Find somewhere else to put it, though. Put it in your pictures or your documents. Then what we've got to do is drag the file from your browser where it was and hold it over this the Finder folder image, the File Explorer icon down here, and then drag it up to the folder that you want it to be in, either probably pictures or documents. I don't need to do that. I can actually use my documents folder or my downloads folder, but you'll probably not be able to. So that's a workaround to help you get that stuff. So once you've actually got your files, just click Upload File under Media in your design window. Choose a file and find the file. So I'm going to upload meow. I'm going to upload cat eating. And I'm going to upload the regular cat picture. So now that I've uploaded these, I can actually attach them to components. So the components that I pointed out, you drag from this palette over here. So for example, I would just grab a button and drag it over onto my screen. Notice that it also now shows up, besides showing up in the screen, it also shows up in the components list. So there are 2 different places that you can access a component from. And when you click on a component, its properties show up. Every component has a whole bunch of properties. So in this case, a button has a background color. You can enable or disable it. There's things related to the font of the text that's on it. There are width and height options. You can establish an image for it, and this is actually what we're going to do. You can set up, instead of text, an image. So I'm going to click on image. Notice my media uploads are available here. I'm going to click cat, and now there's a picture of a cat. It's way too big, so I'm going to say height. See, right here it displays the width and height of the screen, or I think it's height and width actually. Looks like height and width. It's 505 pixels tall and 320 pixels wide, so cat could fill up the whole width. That's fine. In the height, I can take up most of the height too. I'm gonna say 300 tall, and let's go with 250 wide. Let's see what that looks like. Does it stretch the cat too much? It's a little too not wide enough. I'm gonna change that to 300. That's better. Notice that it still says text of button on top of my cat picture. I'm just going to erase the text. So the text property, if I wanted text, I could type it there, but instead I'm just going to erase that. So my button is now actually a picture of a cat. All right, the next thing I'm going to add is a label, and this is just going to be text. So notice I can't click on these things and edit them here. Like I really, intuitively, you might think you want to click, like click or double click on the text label and just replace the text. You can't. It's a property. The properties are over here. So that's kind of how this works, is you drag components from the palette onto the screen, and then you click on a component, whether you click on it on the screen or in the components list, to edit their properties. And the properties are over in the properties panel here. So notice when I click label, it shows label options. When I click the button, it shows the buttons options. So I click the label because I want to edit the text in the label. Scroll down to text and type pet the cat. The text is a little small, so I'm going to change my font size to 28. Is that good enough? That should be fine for now. And I have one other thing to add. That'll be another button, and that's button 2. And instead of saying text for button, I want it to say pet. Or actually, no. The cat itself is what you click to pet it, but I'm going to make this say feed. Sorry. All right, so it's going to say feed, so you can click that button to feed the cat. One thing I want to point out, and this is something that I really want to emphasize because this is important. It's going to become more and more important as your programs get more and more complicated. It doesn't matter as much now, but you really should get in the habit of doing this, because when you start to have more components, this is really going to matter. Notice my buttons are labeled button 1 and button 2. Those are terrible names for components because they aren't descriptive. Everything that you can name in programming really should be named with something that describes what it does. So button 1, I'm going to click on the button 1 in the component list and click rename. And I'm going to change it to button underscore, and button 1 was the picture of the cat. So I'm going to say cat. And then button 2, I'll change to button underscore pet. No, feed. I keep getting that wrong. Feed. Now the button down here is to feed the cat. All right. So I mean, it's good practice to name everything descriptively, but I mean, really, I'm not going to rename my label 1. It's the only label. When it's the only thing, it kind of matters less. So this is the entire layout of the app. All right, so next I'm going to go to my blocks window. So this is where we're going to actually add some code, and this code is going to control the behavior of the app. So this is the design window is just what you can see, and it's what the components are that are visible, that are and also sometimes there are actually some non-visible components, but it's all of the objects that make up the app. But the blocks window is all of the logic that controls the app. And similarly, there's a panel on the left where you can take things and drag them over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the cat button. So this is the one where you can pet the cat. And when it's clicked, what I want to do is play that meow sound. So I'm going to find under button cat. Is it not under button cat? Maybe it's under screen. Is it a general screen property? Trying to remember where playing a sound comes from. Does it work for any component? No. That's right. I need one more component. Sorry about that. I completely forgot a media component. So that's a non-visible. I was just mentioning how there are non-visible components. Well, yeah, there's a sound component. You can't see a sound. Well, it's still a component. So I actually needed to. What I forgot to do was take this sound component and drag it onto my screen. You can't see it. It shows up down here as a non-visible component. So sound 1 needs a source. So I'm going to click sound. I'm going to click source and click me out at MP3, which I had already uploaded earlier. Okay, now I will be able to edit the sound. So now that I have a sound component, that's what I was looking for before, and I couldn't find it because the component didn't exist. Just completely forgot to put it there. So I want to call sound1.play. So this this terminology, call, refers to the fact that this block is a type of procedure. I'm not going to get into too many details about what a procedure is, but one thing that you'll notice is that all of the blocks in App Inventor are grouped together by kind of what type of thing they do, and then they're color coded that way. So, for example, control blocks, whether they're generalized control blocks or specific to a specific component, are sort of yellow colored. And so all these control blocks that control things, they're yellow, even if it's part of whether it's part of a component, whether it's just general control, or these are specific components. There are even things that can apply to any component, like when something that happens when any button is clicked. And another type of block is a procedure. These are all purple. Not going to get too much into the details of what a procedure is, but it's kind of just like a named piece of code that does a specific task. Its name is sound1.play, and the task is to play a sound. So that's what it does. This is where it goes. So I've got when button cat clicked, play or call sound1.play. So now I should be able to play a sound. Now I can test mine because I've got an emulator running, but this is something that you will actually have to do to test out your app. Actually, before I show you how to do that, I'll show you one more step to get the app complete, and then we can test. So the one last thing to do is to feed the cat. We have a feed button. The way you're going to set up your feed button is just get something from button feed, which is when button feed .click. I'm going to set the other button's picture, because it's actually, the other button that is a picture of a cat. Button cat actually has a picture. It has the picture of the cat on it. So I'm actually going to go to button cat and find a set block. So you'll notice, remember all those properties that I was pointing out on the right side in the design window? This whole tab on the right side here, this properties panel, all of those properties are able to be set and able to be fetched with blocks as well. So you can set them initially over here, but then through your code, you can modify them along the way. So, for example, notice there's that background color property that I talked about, and those font properties like font bold, font italic, font size, the height, the width property, the text property, all those things that I was pointing out before that components have. Well, you can also set them with these dark green blocks and get them, like look them up, the current status of it, with these light green blocks. So in the case of button cat dot image. I want to set button cat dot image. That's going to set a new image. And the way I need to give this block some sort of input. I need to tell it what image. So I'm going to get a text block, one of these pink generalized blocks here. It's just an empty text thing. It just has quotes. This empty text with quotation marks around it. And I'm just going to type in the name of my picture. So I want cat eating. So it's cat underscore eating dot jpg. You have to type it in exactly like that, cat underscore eating, or whatever your file name happens to be if you like looked up your own picture or something, .jpg. And it has to be, it is case sensitive, so like if it's all lowercase or if it has uppercase letters or something, has to be exactly the same. The file extension, like .jpg or .png, has to be there. So now, see my emulator. The emulator, well, let me show you now. Let me show you how to test it out using the emulator. So to check and see if your program works, what you can do is click connect, and then this is sorry, back it up. I skipped ahead by a step. So the first thing you need to do is run this program called AI Starter. So if you just type AI STARTER, it's this thing that has kind of an Android logo on it. Click that. Mine's already running, so I'm not going to click it. What will happen is this thing will pop up. Ignore it. It's just going to run in the background. Then, with that thing running in the background, you click connect, reset connection. Make sure you do this. Make sure you do this in this order. Then, connect emulator. I'm not actually clicking it because my emulator is already running. But if you click connect, reset connection, and then connect emulator, the emulator is going to show up and start running. It's very slow. It takes a solid minute or two. Like when I say a minute or two, I really mean like 60 to 120 full seconds. It's not very quick. So give it a moment, let it start up. Once it's running, hopefully you'll have it working. I'm just going to refresh my companion screen. That's the thing that you do to actually refresh what the screen does. Sometimes the emulator just kind of crashes. Unfortunately, the emulator is a little bit clunky, and here you see is an example of that. Despite my already having it running before, when I showed you my example, it crashed. So I'm not going to make you wait around and watch my emulator load, because like I said before, it does take a couple minutes, and I'm just going to end the video here. So I hope this was helpful. Bye.